evening and welcome to BTV. I'm your host this evening, Malice, and tonight I'm talking with women of a certain age. So I'll introduce my women of a certain age. From this end of the panel we have the lovely Carol Wilkinson, who is with Galfa, and equally lovely Leanne Renfrey from Switchboard, and again another lovely lady over this side, Sue Bertram from Joy, and another lovely lady on the end, Julie Leder, from the Jewish Lesbian Group of Victoria. Welcome, women.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Malice.
Great to have you. And we're talking about women of a certain age. So that's, I've got on my notes here 40 to 60. Now you guys sort of were looking at me as if I shouldn't be here because I only turned 39 next month, and so don't hate me. But I would like to talk about, you know, approaching milestone years like the 50, the 60, whatever. How that makes you feel as you go along in your years. Anyone who wants to jump in?
I don't know why you think we might hate you for only being 38. I mean, we've all been there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe you pity me. I don't know.
I can't remember 38.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, yeah, I have vague recollections, but then my long-term memory is much better than my short-term memory is at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, no, I think being in your 30s is a great time.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the others, but I remember being in my 30s and being very active and doing lots of stuff and being out there and really enjoying the LGBTI community.
I think it depends. It's a very personal thing, isn't it? Because when you get to our age, people say, oh, you know, what was the best decade, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s? And they were all good for different reasons. You know, you might have met the love of your life, you might have the best job in the world, you might have been the best country in the world. So I think it really depends. I think, I mean, at 39, I was thinking I really, really don't want to be 40. But now I've just turned 50, and looking back, actually, that was no big deal at all. So I don't think you have a problem at 39.
I think mid-30s is probably about the best, really,
Yeah.
because you're sort of comfortable in your life, you know who you are, you know what you want, you've still got heaps of time to achieve it.
Yeah.
So,
I like trying to get fitter and fitter and healthier as we get older. I think it's really important for older women to get some muscles and really look after our health. And it's fun to do. It's a good thing to do.
And a lot of the time when we were in our 30s, we didn't do that.
No.
Couldn't be bothered.
I wouldn't be up at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning like I am now.
No.
And is that out of choice, being up that early? Although there's no way I'd like to be up that early.
Well, we don't have the late night.
Okay.
It was late Saturday night. Well, I don't have a late Saturday night. Staying home on a Saturday night to me is just bliss.
Yeah, okay, so we are talking a little bit about going out. So we think there's a difference between the younger lesbians and this age group and not necessarily going out when you hit a certain age. Is that what you found?
Well, I think in social events, you go out with your girlfriends. Then you go and have dinner parties or you go to restaurants. You don't particularly go out to the clubs.
No thing. Yeah.
No. Can't talk to each
Well,
other
it doesn't
anyway.
start till
So
like,
what's the point?
What, 11 o'clock or something?
Oh, you poor love.
Really?
And look, 11 o'clock, Midsummer Murders has finished. And
Yeah. Well, it is a good point, though, I find, because I don't drink anymore, and that drinking helps you stay awake. So you're right. Like, as stuff is later, it is harder, really.
Yeah, and I think Julie's right. It's about talking as well. And I mean, just hanging around in a sort of darkened room, watching other people get smashed. It's not really much fun.
But if you look at, you know, if we all go back to our 20s and everything and 30s, and thank God, I think during our generation there were places, you know, there were gay clubs for women to go to, and you go out to make friends, to meet people, to, you know, find that special person, and you're out having a good time. You don't go out till 11 o'clock at night, and you know, you might have something to eat, you might not. You go out, you drink. In those days we used to drive, but what we found interesting coming to Melbourne, we've only been here 2 years, is in our late 40s and early 50s, we want to go out and make friends because we don't know anyone. We don't particularly want to go to nightclubs. So where do you go?
yeah,
That's right.
You know, it's the tennis club, it's the book club if you're into that, it's the clubs, it's the membership kind of hobby clubs.
I think
Afternoon. Yeah.
that probably brings up a very good point, though, because often as you get into your older years, you have established your friends. You have an established group,
You do.
an established circle. And if you suddenly don't have that circle around you anymore because you move countries, I think it is much harder for, as you get older, to re-establish and to find more people. Often you do that through work, you do it through going out to clubs and various other things. And I think Melbourne actually is not a bad place to be, because in terms of the GLBTI community, Melbourne has things like Joy, and it has a lot of outlets for people to volunteer and to become involved. BTV. There is so much for people to do, where you may be in a different place, a smaller town, a different country. There isn't the outlets that Melbourne has. So I think Melbourne certainly is a great place.
No, that's very true. And actually part of the consideration for us in relocating anywhere is, where is it? It has to be a major city, and it has to be with places that we know we can make friends and go out in. You know, if we suddenly, I mean, we wouldn't take, it's interesting because our sexuality and our lifestyle actually would influence where we move as a couple with work. I mean, we wouldn't go and live in the Middle East necessarily, for example. You just wouldn't. But, you know, Melbourne's great, Australia, you know, is great. But it does play a big part in those types of lifestyle decisions.
So is that why you decided to volunteer at Joy?
I took my gap year at 49, or 48 actually. So when we got here, I was wrapping up a little bit of work, and then I actually took some time out anyway, and met a friend of mine, a friend of a friend, who was already working on Joy, doing one of the breakfast shows. So she introduced me to it, and I got involved. And I must admit, you know, Joy Radio is absolutely one of the hubs in Melbourne in terms of LGBTI activity, and we've made friends through that. And then some of the gay women's business networking clubs like Blend and Globe have been the other lifeline for us, to be honest. They really have.
So it sounds like what we need to do is create a club specifically for lesbians or bisexual ladies to come out, perhaps do a bit of knitting, a bit of talking. I know.
Knit.
You can't knit?
No.
Come on. Okay, so this is where the younger ladies will be coming in.
You're aging us by the minute.
Yeah, well, the younger women are into the knitting now.
Do you think that younger women think that we older lesbians do sit at home and knit?
No, seriously, it is the younger women that are
knitting.
the
Knitting's really like
it's huge. So I think
Thank
that the
God I'm not a young lesbian now.
I know, how would you cope with the knitting?
I could never do it.
But yeah, so we need one of these clubs so you can come and all hang out and chat, and perhaps mix it up between the age groups too. What do you think? It's possible? Anyway, maybe we can talk about that a little bit more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Bent TV. I'm Mellis, and we are joined with some fabulous women. And we were talking before the break about going out as a lesbian or bisexual woman of a certain age, and we were discussing perhaps, is there a market? Is there a market for a bar for women, and would it be patronised? What do you think?
There used to be one a few years ago in Sydney Road that was Sunday afternoons. Everyone thought, well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
No, I can't remember.
that was at
Pokies.
We
No, I'm talking.
Everybody knows.
I'm talking probably this in the last century. No,
Yeah,
10 years ago.
I would think 5-6 years ago easily.
Yeah. And everyone thought, oh, that's a good idea, but once again,
Just went under.
They don't
But
last.
why?
You go
But
1
why?
or 2
they're
weeks.
fickle. We like to know they're there, but not necessarily go
that's
often
very
enough.
But it's chicken and egg, isn't it? Because we're all sitting here going, oh, it'd be really nice if there was somewhere to go that wasn't a nightclub. And it happens all over the world. Believe me, I've had this conversation around the dinner table with friends, you know, in the States and the UK. And I think we all want this place. And it's going to feel wonderful when it's there, but then we forget to go. We don't
Well,
go.
as I said before, you see Midsummer Murders comes on the TV and you just
You
sit
need
there.
to get out more. You need to get out more, for sure. I think I have this little dream, you know, if I ever won the lotto, it would be so wonderful to open up a really cool, trendy bar, maybe a little restaurant as well, where women can go, and you can go there before you go out clubbing, or you can go there for the evening, you know, just to meet. I mean, we would love somewhere to go in Melbourne, just to make friends and meet people. And, you know, I don't want to go to a club where the average age is 10. I don't want to go and play bridge You
It's
know,
got to have a pool table. Lesbians love
I
playing
mean,
pool.
okay, we're lucky. You know, we do play golf. Is there a gay golfing society?
There is.
Is there? Okay, so we need to look into that. Tennis has been great, but you know, it just for socialising.
Well, I'm not sporty at all, so none of those things are going to work for me. And and I can't knit either. So so just like a cool bar, sure, that's not got a whole lot of doof going on would be great.
Because it's
wouldn't
Melbourne, it has to have decent coffee.
Absolutely,
That's right.
And it has to be open all day, all evening.
it? So if there's anyone out there watching, perhaps you could put this together for us.
But it's expensive. The overheads of running something like that
Yes.
7 days a week, or even 6 days a week, are expensive. So I mean, it's something that probably have to start off a couple of nights, afternoons and nights a week, and then build up because.
But you've also got the issue of we're catering to a minority group.
Yes.
And you then have to consider, do the various components of that minority group actually want to socialise together?
True,
So in terms of age, in terms of what people are interested in as well, you know, the entire GLBTI community is so diverse. It's as diverse, it's a little microcosm of
anyway.
the mainstream. And in the mainstream, not everybody wants to go to the same places at the same time or be involved with everybody else. So it really becomes very difficult because you're then catering to little minorities within a minority within a minority.
It becomes your lounge room in the end with your
It's
friends.
Midsummer Murders on a Saturday night.
When you go to carnival, and I mean, every year I see like 10,000 people I've never seen before in my life.
Where
and
do
you
these
think,
people come from?
And they're not
Interstate?
all young. They're not
Out in the
just
bush?
Yeah,
And then they come in town and...
Well, you know, I had a similar experience. We went to the Melissa Etheridge concert. We got there a bit early. We went to the hotel across the road and we sat, big glass windows, sat and had a glass of wine. And we could see right the way through into the foyer where they also were running bars, you know, before the concert. And Anne and I just sat there and went, where have all these gay women come from?
Yeah, that's right. The birds.
So they'll come out for certain things.
Yeah.
People will come out
So we
for
need a bar
particular...
with different nights.
Melissa
Obviously,
Etheridge
the
needs
country,
one night,
country
Katie the next.
night.
Katie Lang,
Yeah,
Melissa
sure.
Etheridge.
They need to open a bar in Melbourne, I guess.
Okay, good. All right, this is a project for
But
us.
no, you're right. Yeah, the women will come out for certain things.
Yeah.
But
So
other
if
than
it's
that,
good
it's home with
enough-
the dogs. Back home in the suburbs. Plus, the other thing is, there's an assumption that we just want to mix with lesbians.
Yeah.
And it, you know, believe it or not, we probably have other friends.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
right.
straight
that's
couples,
true.
men, you know,
So,
families.
so on how has your identity as lesbians changed over time? Has it?
Well, I think in the 70s our political leanings were feminist, so we would associate with women, whether straight or lesbian. Now it's queer, so we are mixing a lot more with gay men. That would never have happened.
No.
Oh,
In
those
the
gay
70s.
men.
All of
Would
dances
never.
and bars were separate in the 70s. Like I used to go to the Melbourne Uni dances. Did you go there?
Separatists.
Yeah, the
Okay, we
separatist
did.
dances.
Wow, okay.
There were even rules about how old
You
little
probably
boys
went
could
out
be.
together, just don't remember.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So
But it's behaviour and it's how you identify, how you present yourself to the world as well. I'm much more out now
exactly.
than I was at 25.
Yeah, confidence,
But
surely
then,
too.
is that because you've got older, or is it because the world is more open and more out
Yes.
now?
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think the world has become much more tolerant. There are laws there to protect you. I think maturity is a wonderful thing, and I don't give a toss.
Yeah.
And here I am, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
It is a confidence thing. It's a maturity thing, and it's nice. It's a
Yeah.
good feeling.
Yeah.
But
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that's very true, and probably regardless of anybody's sexuality, that as you get older, you do get to a point where you say, do I care?
Yeah.
No, I don't
that's
care. I'm happy the way I am. And I think if you're happy in your own skin, then it really leaves you open to be whoever you are and to be what you want to be.
And I'm confident enough in the lesbian community to wear makeup and nail polish.
Yes.
If I walked, you would see I'm a dyke. The lesbians can tell.
There was a real thing in the 70s about how you looked.
Absolutely.
When I first came out, I used to go to sort of some of the bars, and it was still butch women in suits with ties,
Butch
with
and
really
femme.
femme women, and I was like 70s
It's scary.
uni
It's
young woman, you know, feminist going, what is this role stuff? And so we were all sort of hippie chicks. But now, there's a lot of that role stuff back again.
I was reading fall's hottest trend is lesbianism. Have you heard
Oh,
this?
they
you
they
heard
say that
this?
every few years.
That sounds like it's something you choose.
Yeah, right. And it's about like the clothing, and apparently combat boots are going to be big, right? Like,
Oh, guess what I'm wearing?
Didn't we used to go to army surplus stores in the 70s and wear those pants in?
Yeah, but with a twist.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
with a
right.
twist.
Yeah.
Combat boots, nail polish,
that's right.
lots of makeup.
But funny, isn't it? Because like you were saying about whether it's just more out there and accepted, now it's a trend.
Well,
Just a little bit offensive.
Who knew?
I don't think sexuality should be a fashion.
Yes.
No,
And I get wound up. I was looking at the Tatler in the UK the other day, and they did the top 7 lesbians, and they made it in. They were doing fashion shoots, and they all looked ridiculous. First of all, in ball gowns, you know. And I'm sure they felt.
If I put a dress on, I look like I'm in drag. I do. I absolutely look like I'm in drag.
But one thing I have noticed, again, getting older, and now I'm guessing around the table, we've probably all got nieces, nephews, I've got godchildren, and they're all kind of uni age now, and they think it's really cool to have a gay aunt, you know, or a gay godmother.
Interesting.
You've probably got a gay aunt, but you didn't know about it at the time.
I do have a gay aunt. It runs in the family, darling.
Yeah, I've got a gay uncle.
So who knew, women, that you were so cool, right?
That's right.
I'm impressed
I always
to be.
knew it.
Yeah,
It's nice to be told.
Isn't it? Isn't it nice? And finally for the world to notice how cool we are. So stay with us. We're talking all things women. You're on Bent TV. Welcome back to Bent TV and all things women. So we should talk about discrimination and whether you face that, like earlier in your lives or currently. Has anyone got any stories about being discriminated against?
No, I wasn't probably out at work much when I was younger. My partner at the time was a primary school teacher, and she was really worried about being out at work,
Sure.
mainly because Jeff Kennett had legislation that would have made it very difficult.
Great.
So I guess there was a real division between personal life and work life. And I don't even think there was legislation in our favour in terms of discrimination on sexuality. So there was stuff around discrimination on sex-based discrimination, but not since I've been out. I mean,
And I'm a musician, so when cute girls come up to me while I'm on stage and give me a hug and a kiss, all the boys in the band go, "Oh, gee, how did she?"
That sounds cool, yeah.
positive discrimination.
No, I've only ever experienced positive discrimination, I must admit. But, you know, I didn't come out when I was very young, only socially. But I've been lucky because I hear a lot of people's stories, which are pretty hideous.
I think it depends on how much you've been out, and I think it also depends on where you've been, your circumstances. I can't say that I've, on a personal basis, had any very direct discrimination, but I certainly know of people who have, and it's still out there. I mean, the reality is that there is still a great deal of discrimination against gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered people. It doesn't matter which category you fit into. If you're in a minority group, there is still discrimination, and in all sorts of forms. And the only way that I see that we can deal with it is by organising better education, and I think it's got to start very early. And one of the problems with education and starting it early when it comes to sexuality is that, of course, schools or certain groups are always saying, oh, you shouldn't be talking about things like that to children. Well, that's not true. We should be normalising what is normal behaviour.
It's the difference between sex and sexuality, isn't it?
And actually, there's a new Jewish group called Keshet that's just starting. It's following on from an American model where they're getting principals from schools and different teachers to come together and discuss, well, what would you do if one of the kids at your school would come out? And it's going to be a very interesting time because they know what they're doing.
Yes.
We'll see what happens over the next few years in Jewish schools.
It will be good. Well, why not in all schools?
There should be, right?
Well, there is. The Safe Schools program has started already. And that's very good too.
And there's the other end of the spectrum. We had Joe Hockey during the week talking about how programs to train aged care workers in LGBTI issues is a waste of money.
Really?
And then he would expand on that. And I know the work that Gay and Lesbian Health Victoria have done, because as we are all getting older and head towards the old nursing home, and there's an assumption, I guess, that suddenly your sexuality and whatever goes out the window because you're old. and there's been stuff on at Melbourne Queer Film Festival around ageing, and just what happens when you want to visit your partner if something happens, or you're together and the families decide to separate you, or all that sort of stuff. So they're real issues that I guess are facing us sooner than you.
Than me, yes. Yes, sorry.
There's overt discrimination, isn't there, and there's sort of subtle discrimination. I mean, my heart, because I've worked in the hotel world for a long time, my heart sinks when I read that, a same-sex couple have checked into a hotel and they've been denied, refused a double room.
Wow.
And that, in some places that is still happening.
Absolutely.
And, the issue is, who does the law support? Do they have the right as the paying customer to have the room?
Right. Yeah.
That's how the saying goes.
Yeah.
Or does the law of the land still prohibit anything, but then it's behind closed doors? So, when I read stories like that, and there were a couple of cases in the UK recently where a gay male couple won their case, and sadly the people who ran the B&B were quite extreme Christians, and it obviously upset their religious beliefs.
Yeah.
And I guess, I guess I'd be sort of inclined to say, I don't want to stay here anyway.
No, exactly. Why would you?
Yeah, why would you want to stay somewhere like that?
But we're talking about being part of a minority. We're part of two minorities, right? Since we are women, and I think I find discrimination more rife as a woman rather than someone who identifies as queer. Have you found that?
I do in Australia, I'm afraid.
Yeah, right.
More than other parts of the world.
Yeah, interesting. We're a very blokey kind of culture, aren't we? What about you, women? Have you?
As I've got older,
Yeah.
for sure. As soon as the blonde hair and the
feeling
blue eyes have
invisible.
faded,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. I mean, just stuff like walking down the street and getting bumped into, or being ignored in
I still
shops,
get
or.
that. Yeah.
And I really think it is because I'm older and nondescript. I mean, if I was a little old lady, I'd get help.
So
But I'm just sort of like
aiming for that.
push
Yeah.
over them.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling very invisible lately. So it's very interesting.
It is interesting.
I don't like it.
No.
Is that because you feel the majority of people around you are all younger and out there and doing it? I mean, I feel, again, new to Melbourne, but there's a huge student community here, isn't there? If I'm in the CBD during the day, there's a massive student community all the time. And so average age, 19, 20. And then you're kind of aware of all the workers, but that's the full spectrum of age.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people are just zoned into their own thing. So I think if anyone bumps into anyone, there's none of that sort of nice stop, sorry. It's just
But you
we're
know
all
what
on
it
a
is?
treasure.
Everyone's got their headphones on.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their headphones on. That's
See,
why
now we
they've
are
got
turning into
little-
grumpy old women, right?
I don't have my
We
headphones
said
on,
we
so-
weren't going to do that grumpy old woman thing.
But then, have you got a set of headphones?
I do, but I only wear them when it's safe. And I know that sounds really old
Old
and farty,
women.
doesn't it?
No,
that
just get hit by a
really
tram.
old farty.
Yes.
But no, I won't wear them when I'm walking the dog.
Yeah, so,
Because there's two of us, and also I don't think people drive very well here, so I'm constantly looking out. But I will wear them when it's safe.
when
I'll
you
wear
walk
them-
the dog,
No, not the middle of the freeway, no. But even actually, I was wearing them on the train the other night, and I was coming home quite late, and after 11.
How did you stay awake?
Wow.
And I had my headphones on, and there was a drunk came on that particular carriage who was really obnoxious and pretty horrible. And I actually didn't hear him, but I saw in the reflection of the windows people were getting up and changing carriages when it was. And I thought, hang on, I'm going to be the only one left here. And then
Bopping away to your
because I had
music.
my headphones on, actually I didn't know what was going on, and that awareness I think is quite important.
Interesting.
But do you think that we, as women, particularly, are more aware of some of those situations anyway, even just walking down the street, compared to a male walking down the street or crossing a park in the semi-daylight or in the evening?
Yes.
Depends why you're crossing the park, of course.
Yes. I think
boys don't
women
mind.
I think women are a lot more conscious of who's
safety.
walking behind them.
We aware of
what
our personal
the-
space.
Yes.
And
you
we
park
need
your
to
car.
safety.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Very
Yeah.
important.
Women, we could talk forever, I think, but sadly we have run out of time. Oh, can I thank Leanne Renfrey, Cara Wilkinson, Sue Bertram, Julie Leder, and me. And thank you so much. It's been brilliant having you.
Thanks,
and come again soon. And
Thank
so
you.
please come back next week to BTV. Good night.